Welcome to where the screen door slams and the coffee mug hits the table. You're listening to The Family Balancing Act with me, Maureen Huntley, mom, grandmother, and board-certified holistic and functional medicine health coach. Each episode will explore the realities of your day-to-day family life in this modern era of nonstop texts, memes, and technology. After all, how do we keep ourselves sane and our family healthy? I'll have amazing guests and thought-provoking discussions, and we'll take a holistic look at family health, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Whether it's a micro perspective of family involving healthy snacks, teenagers with an attitude, stressed out husbands, partners, adult children, potty training, elder care, grandchildren, college prep, or a macro perspective of world events, including flu, earthquakes, the brainwashing media, finances, and oh, so much more. We'll find a way together. So take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone. Bring on the Family Balancing Act. Welcome to the Family Balancing Act, where restoring the heart and art of motherhood starts with one conversation at a time. I'm Maureen Huntley, your host, board-certified integrative, holistic, and functional medicine health coach, emotional freedom technique practitioner, mom, grandmother, wife, and CEO of my family's home operations. So don't miss any of our Family Balancing Act episodes, because you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, Pandora, iHeartradio, and CTR Radio Network, and more. And this is where you can also sign up for my monthly newsletter and grab my free year-round holiday stress-less tips at MaureenHuntley.com. And you can also find out how you can work with me and become one of my most amazing clients. I really love what I do. Holistic solutions for health and well-being for women, moms, and their families. So deep breath, exhale. It starts with you. So when I woke up this morning, a warm, rainy day here in the west of Ireland, I felt the need to bake and make some soup. Yes, it's July, and I decided that I would bake muffins and make soup. Well, cooking on my terms for fun and not for my family. It's like a meditation for me to be present and create something wonderful, something useful, and something that I'm proud of. It's really fast and easy, and I love to do it. It also keeps me focused, kind of, and completely off of my devices, like my iPhone, my iPad, my computer. Oh, wait, I'm not being completely truthful. I did have an online yoga class at the crack of dawn this morning. That was prior to my kitchen connection. And then I looked up the vegan soup recipe online while I was drinking my coffee with dandelion and coconut oil. Well, it's good for you. Well, then as I was drinking my coffee, I checked my messages, and I just sent a few texts. It was no big deal. And then I had to look at my Voxer replies because I had to check in on a few people. And then I listened to this podcast, Family Tech, as I started to gather all my bits together on the counter in the kitchen. And then, boom, my phone died out. Rather ironic, because actually our guest today is Sarah Kimmel, and she is the host of the popular podcast and YouTube program, Family Tech Talk. Well, she'll be joining us in just a few moments. But I wanted to tell you that as soon as I got back to the business of baking and soup making, in the forced silence of my kitchen, I felt totally in the zone, connected to what I was doing and creating. Dare I say, focused? Well, honestly, I have this little problem of allowing my electronics to consume my life as though they're actually a family member. Well, honestly, every one of my family members attached to their phones. Well, a rule of ours is not to bring our phone into the table at the kitchen, into the kitchen at the kitchen table, even when I do, of course, because I'm mom, I'm allowed to do what I want. But of course, when you go out to a meal, we do need to take photos of it, right? Okay. Many families, and it's not just the children, it's the adults that have this really big problem with allowing technology to completely take over our lives. Yeah, I mean, my grown children have grown up with it from the very beginning, and I actually learned so much from them because I didn't, including how to turn on my phone and to reboot the internet. But what about when our children are actually hiding away from their creative expressions and allowing tech and games and apps and nefarious characters online to block their creativity? What about getting back to the basics of life, playing and connecting with others, music, art, theater, or how about reading a book? Well, today's guest, who I'm so excited to have on the Family Balancing Act, is Sarah Kimmel, host of the podcast Family Tech Talk, where Sarah discusses all about everything from the latest family tech news, tech tips, parenting advice, pop culture, gaming, and more. Well, each week on her show, she discusses topics that will help you manage your family technology, your smart home, and digital kids. She has spent the last 20 years of her career working as a Microsoft certified IT manager, supporting over 100 small businesses. And during that time, she started Family Tech LLC to help families understand and manage the technology in their home. She has regularly appeared as a family tech expert on local NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox News affiliates, BYU TV, and Studio 5, and has been invited all over the world from tech companies like Lenovo, my computer, Verizon, Microsoft, Dell, and Samsung. You have to check her out at SarahKimmel.com. Sarah, I am so honored to have you here today, and I just can't wait to have this conversation with you. It will be awesome.
Hi, yes. Oh,
Hi.
I like
there you are.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. So where do we begin? How did you get into the business of this?
Well, like you said, I am an IT manager. So that's basically how I got started. Is I have been in the tech industry for a very long time, over 20 years, mainly with companies called managed services providers. So they are they provide the IT for small businesses. And in the course of that, I had my first child, and my friends that live, around me would always ask me questions because they knew I was the tech expert, right? Yeah, I'm the one that deals with this for companies every day. So they'd ask me, "Oh, hey, my computer got a virus. Can you help me with that?" Or, I have questions about something for my kids. Let me know. And so I'd always get all these questions from everybody that I know, and, family, friends, acquaintances. "Hey, I heard you were the person to go to for tech advice." So I decided to start a blog. I'm like, okay, forget it. We're just going to put all the information on a blog. I'll just send you a link. And I'm tired of repeating myself, basically. So I started my blog back in, I started kind of a version of the blog around 2006, but the version that's mostly there now started in 2009.
Wow.
And so, then I've just kind of changed my content with the changing times. So I don't write on the blog as much anymore. I do YouTube videos because that's a platform that people are looking for that information more, and podcasting and things like that. So, just kind of change the content to go with the changing times.
Wow. And the times are a changing.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how you're keeping up with it, because I do have a couple of tech people in my family, and they are always being bombarded with questions, just stupid stuff to really complex things. And so not only is that going on, but there's just a lot of information coming at us as consumers and as parents.
For sure.
So like when you have, and I want to tell my listeners that Sarah has the most comprehensive website on this matter. I was like rolling through it, and I'm amazed at the amount of content and information and support that you freely give. It's just like, wow. So I'm going to brain drain you here.
Of course, that's what I'm here for.
But, I wanted to ask you, how do you, where do you begin? How do you start the process of sitting your family down and saying, okay, people, we all need to address the amount of time we're spending on our computers or on our phones or what other things are gaming devices. And sometimes, just from my own point of view and my own life stuff, it's not only just the kids.
Yeah.
It's the adults, and I'll call myself out totally.
Absolutely. That's funny that you asked, because I'm actually running a kind of tech reset challenge right now on my Facebook community, but it is mainly just a 10-day reset where I'm kind of giving you small things that you can do each day to be more intentional about your tech use. Because I obviously love technology. It's totally, I'm immersed
maniacal
in it.
Laugh.
Yeah, technology basically runs my entire life, but I use it as a tool to help my life run smoother, run easier. Mm-hmm. I don't let it use me, so I'm not going to get sucked into these different, obviously everybody's gonna get sucked into a rabbit hole from here and there, but just kind of walking that back and being more intentional about what you're using technology for. So parts of the reset challenge, by the time this airs, it's going to be over. So I apologize.
You'll have to do another one.
I will. Yeah. I have to do another one. But I think I will create like kind of a printable or whatever that you can download that will help you go through the reset challenge on your own. Right now I'm just sending out an email every day, so kind of walking people through it, but you'd get the whole thing right away. But it is really small things like changing one app from being on your phone to being somewhere else. So say you watch YouTube a lot on your phone. Okay, I'm only going to watch YouTube on a smart TV. And basically kind of just changing where you're consuming that content can really help you be more intentional about that tech use. So you're not just staring at your phone. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch a YouTube video. So I'm going to sit down on the couch and watch it like I would a television program. So you're not eliminating YouTube from your life, but you're just being more intentional about what you're doing with the technology. And so I think that's kind of a good place to start, is just like looking at your usage. And then you can do the whole thing with your family. So you could run the challenge with your family. Like, okay, let's see who can reduce their usage on their phone this week. And, they'll get a ice cream party or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to be this like serious sit down conversation. Hey, everybody, we really need to talk about our technology use. You can make it into a fun game where we're not, and it's kind of like dieting, I would say. I'm not eliminating the treats, because then I'm going to go ahead and binge on all the treats when I can, and I'm not really changing my habits. But it's about allowing yourself that grace and the ability to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy, but making sure you're more intentional about it.
I love how you connected the food connection to, because it's an addiction. Addictions can be so many different things, but food, a lot of people can relate to. Even if you don't have weight issues, you probably, are addicted to salt or sugar, or just eating
caffeine.
Cookies.
Yeah.
Caffeine. Yeah, that's my thing. But yes, it's so easy to comprehend, but not so easy to do.
For sure.
So that's brilliant though, to sit your family down, because I can tell you this much. I sat them down and gave them a lecture.
Right.
I didn't go, let's play a game.
Right.
And now, and even now, I mean, like my kids are gone and I still have, them around and that, but it's the bringing the devices to the table. And then agreeing we weren't going to do it. And then I'm, of course, the first one to break that rule.
Right.
Because somebody might call me that I'm expecting.
Yeah, of course,
and because we don't have phones hanging on the walls anymore.
Right.
They're in our pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And
they can do so much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're mini computers. They do everything. Oh, yeah. So at what age, another one of my questions for you is, at what age does a child get a phone?
So I am very much not a hard, fast, age person. Because every family is different. Every child is different. So I could be the mother of a family that has 3 kids, and one kid was totally ready for a phone at 10 years old, and the other one might still not be ready at 15. There is so many factors that I feel go into whether or not they get a phone. And I like to kind of step them through technology instead of just saying okay, when you're 13, this is when you get a phone. Because then it just helps them kind of put the ownership and the responsibility on the kid, where they are earning that right. So, we start out, with maybe a watch that has communication. And, for my son, who wanted a phone, I'm like, okay, well, you have a watch and you aren't bringing that watch when you are out of the house. So you're not ready for a phone because you're not being responsible with the watch. They oh, this is lame. I don't want to use this. Okay, well, you're going to need to show me that you can use this and that you can use it properly in order to basically graduate to the next level. And so it's a constant proving yourself worthy, I guess, of that next step in the technology, hierarchy.
Right.
So, so I start with a smartwatch, and then we graduate to something like a kid safe smartphone. There's a lot of options available that are basically really limited phones that have very limited apps, like a curated app store where you're not going to be able to download every single app, so that would be the next level where, they really want their ultimate goal is an iPhone or something. But I'm like, okay, well, you're going to need to show me that you can text responsibly on this, that you're not going to try and get around the parental controls that are installed on this. So there's a lot of things that you can show me that you're responsible enough for the next level. And then you keep stepping along that process. So the kid safe smartphone, and then maybe an Android device that has some really strict parental controls. And then, when they're 16, 17, totally open for an iPhone or something, if they've shown throughout the history that they can use it responsibly.
That's great. I wasn't really aware that Androids were actually had more of the parental controls, that had more locks on it, shall we say, more, a guided way to a better, healthier version of taking care of yourself around tech.
Sure. And it's actually not so much that Android has those built in. It's just that the operating system is more open to it. So with Apple, the operating system, Apple is so concerned about user privacy, even if that user is a 10-year-old. So because of that, built-in privacy, blocking, it's not going to allow third-party parental controls the appropriate access to monitor or control the device effectively. And so with an Android device, you have a plethora of third-party parental controls that you can choose from. You can pick which platform suits your family the best and install that. And it has the ability to have that monitoring of the content and the ability to lock it down properly, whereas they won't have that with an Apple device just because of the operating system that's so locked down.
Wow. Do you think the public really knows that? I mean, parents?
They absolutely do not.
Okay. I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
thought I'd throw that out there because I didn't know that, but I am not always, I'm trying to keep my kids happy.
Right.
And that has been, I mean, now like the years have gone by, but I'm still trying to keep them happy, or trying to be the fixer because I'm mom, just want
Right.
everybody like, oh, can we all get along here, please? But I remember when I think my youngest, I was sitting at the counter in the kitchen and I was sitting there on my phone, just, clicking away on it. And he comes over to me and I think he's around 4. And he goes, mom, it's sort of like that. What's it that? Stewie. Yeah. Mommy. And I'm still not listening. I'm like, not really listening to him. And he kind of climbs up onto the other high chair next to me. And he grabs my cheeks and flips my face towards him. And he goes, you must listen to me when I'm speaking to you. Put that down. And I was like, okay, I have a problem. That was rather embarrassing, but we tell that story. He tells that story.
It's a great story.
It's really good because I really, because it was all new to me, not new to me, but I was really getting better and better at it. Everything was, everything was at my fingertips.
Yeah.
What about teenagers? And I know, you can get them if you haven't, you've let it be kind of a runaway train.
Sure.
Oh, gee, who hasn't been on one of those?
Yeah.
And, you trust your children, everything's fine. They seem to be doing well. Maybe there's some, little behavioral stuff going on, but that happens with teenagers. You're just like, whatever, let's get through this. Let's move through this. Okay. You've hurt my feelings, you move through it. But some of this is being fed by the nefarious characters that they're communicating with on in their text messaging, in a text group. It could even be good friends at school that have now turned on you because you now, have nicer shoes than they do, or whatever the problem is. How do you pull back from that? How do you get the power back?
Yeah, that is a very tough one. I know when my sister, she kind of, wild west with her kids when they got the phone, and then finally was like, hey, Sarah, I need to lock this down now. And so like I went and helped her lock down the kids' phones, and like you would have thought her daughter, like it was the end of the world, just totally upset. And it was a very, very difficult day for sure. But I think making sure you're communicating properly, and it's okay to let your kids know that you made a mistake. And that's where you would approach it from. Say, hey, you know what? I gave you access to an adult level device, and I probably should have done a little more research before I did that. So this is what we're going to need to do to correct my mistake. And not being afraid to just being like, hey, mom made a mistake too. And, like kind of, this is on me, and I shouldn't have let you, have all of this access, and we need to fix it. And then that way you're not blaming them. It's nothing they did wrong to kind of bring this punishment, because it's maybe it feels more like a punishment at that stage. If you're just saying, hey, this is wrong and I need to fix it. If you bring that back on yourself and say, hey, it was a mistake for me to allow this and we need to fix that, then it's a little less harsh, I want to say.
No, that's great. My comment is that this would work in so many things going on in our lives, is to take ownership of our own crap. That
Right.
we, I mean, because it's so easy for us to blame, shame, whatever, and especially if our kids are, it may be the cause of discord or a bullying situation, or a part of the party that is, because it becomes this massive glob moving towards one or a few people. And you want to blame them for so many things. You want to scream bloody murder,
Right.
but you first have to deal with taking the device away and saying, I screwed up.
Yeah.
You were not an adult. I assumed you were, and that's my bad.
Right.
And now we're going to deal with how we don't treat people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and having those conversations with how things that they do online are permanent, and that they can't take it back. And so they need to be more careful about what they are doing online. And even if it's something that they feel like is private, that's one thing that we get a lot of pushback on, is people are saying, well, don't you trust me? Or don't I deserve privacy? And my comeback to that is always, nobody has privacy online. Not even me, not even you. So you're not going to have private conversations that could get you into trouble in the future because of something that you've said now. I'm going to help protect you from that. But, I like to show my kids court cases and stuff here.
Wow.
Because they even criminal cases, the phone expert will come testify, and the amount of data that comes out of the, defendant's phone or the victim's phones is so eye-opening, where it's recording how many times they've unlocked their screen, when they've unlocked their screen, how many times the orientation changed, how many steps you took with your phone. So it can track all of these things to help convict a criminal. But it's eye-opening for the kids to see how much they don't have privacy, because all of these things can come back against them in the future. And so, and I talk about people who tweet something out 10 years ago and they're getting canceled for it now.
Yes.
And so these things, they stay forever, and you can't take it back. Even if you think you're having a private conversation with a friend, they could screenshot it. They could record it from a different device. There's so many things where you think you might be having something that's private and secret, but it's never going to stay that way. So I always say there is no privacy online, not for me, not for you. So don't have any expectation of that.
And it's when we think of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
We do have freedom of speech, especially, on our phones, but it doesn't go away. And so that freedom of speech is out there and can be turned and used against you. And yet freedom of speech should not be taped, followed.
Right.
It's a sticky situation.
Right.
And one that we're not going to solve. You know. But oh wow. Yeah. I have a kind of an odd question, and I don't know if this ever comes up, but with technology, or even, with 5G, let's say 5G.
Sure.
And what is emitted from 5G, and how all of these towers now, and the amount of energy, and saying people are getting sick, and what is your feeling around that and technology? What are your thoughts?
I'm actually, like I said, I love technology. I would go to bed with technology if I could.
I do.
Yeah.
My phone is next to me, so don't worry. I think most people do, even if they're using a Faraday bag, they're not.
Right. But there is actually an account that I do like to follow. Her name is the account is Tech Wellness. And she has a lot of content about exactly that. It's not something that super concerns me. I just think it's, this is the world we live in now. And I'm not going to be able to do anything to change that unless I want to completely go live off the grid, which I absolutely do not. So it's, everything is a trade-off. So if I want access to this, then I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of it as well. She has some great advice at some things you can do to kind of help, eliminate those like health risks and things like that. But it's not something that I generally dig into a ton. But I just know there's a lot of kind of misconception with 5G, I will say, just because there's two different versions of 5G and a lot of people get confused with that. And I don't even know if this is where you want to go with this right now.
No, I didn't even know that, but that's great. I didn't know that.
So there's 5G, which is the cellular network, and it just means 5th generation. So it's just the next iteration. So it's just the upgrade, so if you have an iPhone 12 and then you have an iPhone 13, that's, there was 4G and now there's 5G. So it's just the 5th generation of the technology. The other thing people get it confused with is Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi 5 gigahertz is not 5G cellular. 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi is basically the band that your wireless signal transmits over inside your home. So they're completely different things. And I get a lot of questions about how do I disable 5G on my Wi-Fi? And I'm like, well, you don't really even need to. It's just the band that it's communicating on. It has nothing to do with the 5th generation of the cellular network.
Fascinating. I didn't know that. And I use this stuff and I do go to bed with it. And I don't even, and I know there are people who are very sensitive who've had, health issues around this stuff. And again, it's about minding how you're using all of this. As you were talking about your challenge, I was thinking about, doing a detox. I know I was listening. I mentioned to you when we first talked about, I was driving here in Ireland and I was listening to a radio program and they were all going on about how they're doing a cell phone detox or technology detox, but they're really talking about their cell phones and mobile phones. And how they were having complete conniption fits because they couldn't handle that, I haven't touched it in an hour. And it's this addiction to, I have to have this, I guess it's like the food thing is to do a detox and to do, as you say, the challenge. But I can't imagine anybody being off of it. Well, I mean, I know when my phone was broken, when I had, destroyed it a year ago, I was off of it for 24 hours till I got a new one. And it was like, because that's the only way I could make a phone call. I'm making a phone call any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. They our phones are, and really technology is so integrated in our daily lives that for me personally, a detox is a very extreme effort. And one that I'm not saying I'm addicted to my technology. I probably am, who knows, but a detox is too much for me. I would not be able to do that. I went on a cruise with my family. I had to buy the internet plan. I'm like, I do still have a full-time job. I run a tech support team. And so I need to be available to them to answer questions and to give them help. Our tech support is open 7 days a week. So there's not something that I'm really able to do to leave behind my technology for an extended period of time. So I just don't think it's very feasible for a lot of people to do a detox like that. What I do recommend is detoxing on specific things. Say you watch too much YouTube. Okay, I'm going to not have YouTube for a week or Instagram or, whatever it is that you are spending too much time on. And that's something that I with my kids, if they get grounded from something, say they were watching too much YouTube and they didn't get their homework done, well, then they get grounded from YouTube. They don't get grounded from their entire phone, because that's the way they're going to communicate with their friends. That's the way they're going to like coordinate. This way they're going to do their homework, and so taking the phone completely away isn't necessarily going to be beneficial for anybody, but taking away the problem is where you really want to like focus your attention.
That's absolutely great advice, because it is about the thing. What is the thing that's really pulling you away? It's not your work. You need your work. You need to be in communication. But YouTube, for me, it might be Twitter. It's just, because it's so fast. You can just, I'm not even tweeting. I just like to, I'm like a scroller.
Right.
Scroll through it, but it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Classrooms and children with their phones. There are in my area, when I'm back in the States, they have to take, and they go into the school when they, middle school, even the grammar school, they're going in, you have to leave your phone in the bag at the door kind of thing.
I love that.
So that kind of works. And yet there are schools in my area where friends of mine work, family members, and work as teachers, and that where the kids in middle school, where they're allowed to have their phones on them, and they will film the teacher or certain situations. And therein lies a huge issue.
Yeah. So that's one thing I really would love to promote more, is to eliminate phones in classrooms. And I'm not saying they don't have to, like, they can't bring their phone. It can be in their backpack, but as long as it's not out in the classroom. And I think because there's a lot of laws and things that are being passed right now in the States around social media and kids. And these laws, they don't do anything. They're not beneficial. They're not going to help really the problem. And it's a lot of government overreach, I feel. And if the government can just concentrate more on where they do have jurisdiction, which would be the public schools, and do something like that, where they're eliminating the phones inside the classrooms, I think that's going to go really far in helping the situation, because, and I'm guilty of it. And I didn't even realize, like, I'll text my daughter in the middle of class, and say, hey, you left your car lights on, so she can go turn off her car. But it's the distraction. There's a study that, like, any notification that they get in the middle of class, it takes them about 10 to 15 minutes to get back into like the educational space. And when you're in class for, an hour, and they're probably getting notifications constantly, they're not learning. And I think that's the big problem that I have with the phones in the classrooms, is the distraction that it causes. And it's not like, I don't want to take away their ability to reach their family in an emergency or anything like that. So like, I'm okay with them bringing it and having it on them, just not out in the classroom. And I think that's where government can really step in and make a difference, and make that kind of across the board. But the other part of the phones in schools, dang it, I just lost my train of thought on that one. But yeah, I really think that that's something the government can help with.
Well, as you say, the government, it's amazing just how they don't do the obvious.
Right.
That's all I have to say. It just is like mind blowing that would be the obvious thing, because they do have jurisdiction over that. They can have a voice around that. And the parents are asking for that at some level,
Sure.
Maybe some are louder than others, yet they're backdooring it by trying to control other aspects that have really nothing to do with the immediate necessary task of helping the family, helping the children to stay focused. That's that word again.
Right.
On their work. And, after COVID and that, these poor kids are struggling anyway.
Yeah. It's like that. I remembered my train of thought when you were talking about them recording their teachers. That actually happened in my daughter's high school. I want to say it was either last year or the year before. First day of school, there was a teacher, and she was kind of spouting off political things that she probably shouldn't have been talking to the kids about, because she can have her own views, but
right. Nobody was asking her.
Right. Basically, like, she was offending half the students and not and agreeing with the other half, telling students that if they don't agree with her, they can leave, and things like that. So like just really inappropriate things. But so some students videoed her from their phone, and she ended up like losing her job because that video went completely viral. But then like the distraction at the school, like our principal got hundreds of thousands of phone calls from parents across the country, both like for and against this teacher. And like, we had to have like police presence at the school and everything.
That's
like
so disruptive. It's
exactly,
so disruptive.
Exactly.
It could have just easily been, and yet that's a situation where the phones worked, because
right.
honestly, that person, that teacher, so-called, might not ever be caught.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was a chemistry class. Like, it wasn't even like a political class. It was
right,
chemistry.
right. Yeah. Because sometimes political classes go that way. And if there's a healthy debate, that's great.
Right.
But, and that's what should be, is a debate, not a schooling on how you should be living your life and thinking.
Correct.
Amazing.
And it was crazy that it was at my daughter's high school. Like,
right.
It was just like, and totally went national attention and everything. It was insane.
Wow. Put you in the limelight in a way.
I know, right?
Call in the tech expert.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't ask my opinion, but
that's too funny.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I had, another thought around, oh golly, I had all these questions for you. Apps. You talked about apps before.
Sure.
And it kind of segueing into what's the good thing, the good thing about phones are, and apps. You are quite versed in the good versus evil apps.
Sure.
And of course, managing it so that our children get those on their phone, the good ones, and eradicate the bad ones.
Yeah.
I know you have so many sources that you've put on your website, but where's a parent begin? What do you do to get the right stuff on your kids' phones?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because there is so much to choose from, and there are good and bad. And so we were kind of talking about the government, but the U.S. Attorney General, Surgeon General, sorry, the U.S. Surgeon General released a health advisory about like teens and social media and mental health. And it's actually a really good advisory. I wasn't expecting it to be. I know.
You never know.
It's like all the laws and everything that have been coming out, I like am totally against. But this was a really good advisory, because it did talk about the pros and cons of social media use. Because there are pros. The main pro is that, especially with like marginalized communities, they're finding people that are like them on social media, and they're able to connect, and they're able to kind of validate their own lives and their own experience through social media, and have that like validation boost, because they can see other people. I live in rural Utah. There's not a lot of diversity here. So, I can see how marginalized communities in rural Utah can find that community on social media. And where the danger really lies is mainly the time spent. So like limiting that time. So they're not on it all night long. They are, limiting to an hour a day or something, because it's when they've spent over 3 hours a day is when it's really starting to like deteriorate their mental health. And so kind of taking that and saying like almost all social media platforms can have good and can have bad, but making sure that you are training the algorithm. And I say this a lot, like training the algorithm to where it's okay to unfollow somebody who makes you feel bad. Like if you have a friend on Instagram and every time you see their pictures, you feel bad about yourself, unfollow them, mute them, do those things. Or, if you're looking through your feed and it's all stuff like, let's go back to food and you're on a diet and it's all these delicious cookies and things, maybe like tell Instagram or TikTok or whatever that you're not interested in seeing this cookie content anymore. And then you can kind of train that algorithm to see just the things that are positive and uplifting and make you feel good about yourself, instead of the things that are making you feel bad about yourself.
That's great. I have a question around, why is it that when you're talking about carpeting, just talking about carpeting, because you're having a carpeting discussion, because you need carpeting, you like carpeting, you use carpeting, I don't know, it shows up on your phone.
Yes,
it shows
absolutely.
up within 2 minutes and you're like, wow, here it is. I need carpeting. And you go to a space, or I have friends that do that don't even realize that what's happened is that it completely picked up on your conversation and shows up on your phone.
Right.
You get pulled in if it's the right carpeting.
Right. Because they want to sell you that carpeting.
Right.
And it's funny because as we go back to that privacy conversation, it is really a testament that no, you don't have privacy online. You don't have privacy when you're out and about. If you're acting a fool at a restaurant, I guarantee somebody's going to be recording you and you are going to be going viral for that. So like there is no privacy. So when you are having like a conversation, I had a recent conversation with my friend and we were talking about nail polish, and I was saying, oh, I love this like nail company. And then like, as we're talking, I'm like, well, you're probably going to start getting ads for it now anyway. So here it is. Like, and she did, like, she's like, yep, there's
you don't
all
have
my
to
ads.
send me the info. It's right here.
I've got it. Yeah, we're good. And so, there is an element of listening for sure, but the platforms are just actually really, really good in the fact where if I am talking about, like, I've done some research on carpeting because I'm looking for carpeting, right? But then I am talking to you, the next day about carpeting. Well, our phones are in proximity to each other at that point. And my searches are basically going to like, oh, hey, this person knows this person and they were searching for carpeting. So maybe this person also wants to search for carpeting.
Wow, so they're like communicating.
It basically, I mean, like, it's just like proximity where it knows your location. It knows your friend's location, or, maybe you're chatting through Messenger or something like that, or you're texting. It knows that you know this person and this person's looking at this. And like, so maybe you also want to look at this. So sometimes it seems like it's just like that I was talking and that's how it came about. But a lot of times it's really just that you're communicating with somebody else who was also like, because you're talking about the carpeting with that person,
right?
And they were looking at carpeting, so it kind of happens that way a lot of times. But there is definitely, they say that they're not listening, but there's definitely an element of listening as well.
Yeah. Well, let's see what shows up on my phone after
I know
this.
you're going to get this nail polish.
I'll be texting you. I got it. It's carpeting and nails, and carpeting and nails.
That's going to be your feeds for the next 5 days.
Oh my gosh. That's too funny. Well, I don't know if you have any other thoughts that you think that our listeners would like to know about just surviving this technology jungle with,
Yeah, I
with our
mean,
families.
the big thing is to be informed. So I always say that if your child was diagnosed with a disease and you would go online and you would research everything you could about that disease so you can keep them healthy, you can keep them safe, and you can keep like kind of a level of normalcy for your child. And we're not doing that about technology. And it can be just as dangerous as a disease. If you're handing over a like supercomputer to your child and you don't understand the dangers and you don't understand what you're allowing, then, it can get to that dangerous level. So research what you can do to help protect your kid, parental controls for such and such. There are in-app parental controls. Like TikTok actually has the best in-app parental controls of any social media platform, which is shocking for most people to hear.
I know. And the whole thing with TikTok, I know it's like, oh, danger. I have found there's lots of really great resources and great info on that. And I'm thinking, well, if this is on there, I mean, the stuff showing up on Facebook and even YouTube isn't even this good. And it's short. It's not this long, stuff. I don't know. I mean, for me, the jury's out on TikTok. I've never not liked them.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's fine.
I think they're,
I think the big thing that the government has an issue with is who controls that data, because it's basically the China, like with Facebook, they can subpoena Facebook and get data for, everybody in the United States, but they can't do that for TikTok. And that's what I think scares them and like it doesn't allow them to have access to that data. So that's the big thing I think that the government has a problem with regards to TikTok. But
interesting. Very interesting.
But back to like just research and then communication with your child. I really, really love to have my kids present me with like, so say they want an iPhone or they want to be stepped up to the next level of technology. They want Instagram. They want like Snapchat. Okay. You give me a presentation on what kind of parental controls it has, what it can do, what kind of content you can come across, like you do the research and present that to me. And then I obviously will verify this research that they've done.
Your kids have no chance in skating by you. I know. Whew, that's
like
rough.
Yeah, so no, that's wrong and that's wrong, but good try. But just having that open communication about whether or not you're going to allow something and why you're going to not allow it or why you're going to allow it and what kind of parameters are going to be put in place if you allow it, and just, not being sneaky about it. Like I have people who are like, how do I install this parental control without my kids knowing? And I'm like, well, don't do that. Because you want to, like, say you come across something. So I'll get alerts on my phone about like things that my child is, searching or whatever. Well, if I'm getting these alerts sneakily, how am I going to talk to them about it? They're gonna have to know that I've found out somehow. And then that breaks the trust, I think.
Breaks the trust. And then the next time it's a bigger secret. It's a bigger thing. It becomes because the whole idea of being a child is to see how you can outdo your parents, how you can get beyond them, because they're expanding their wings. They have to do that. With apps, I have one more question, then I know I'm left you go. But,
no, you're good.
Is there a timer? Is there any kind of a timer built into a phone, let's say, where your phone the child's phone just goes off? It's been 3 hours, you're done. Or even with apps, maybe not the whole phone, but just all the different apps. Is there a way to control that?
Yeah, absolutely. With iOS, so Apple, they have something called screen time. It's built into the Apple operating system. And you can set that up. You do have to have an Apple phone to set that up for your child's phone, because Apple just doesn't like to play nice with other people. And so that's the one limitation there. But yeah, you can set a time limit for the entire device. You can set a bedtime for the device, so it just shuts down at a certain time every night. You can set time limits for specific apps. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that screen time. For Google, for Android devices, it's called Google Family Link, and it's similar, but you just have to download the app, and then you set up their Google account with that. And it's the same thing. And with Google, it's really fun because I can just like shut it down at any time. Like, so I can just like pause the device and then they have no access to the device. Yeah. Like, okay, hey, you know what? It's dinner time. Pause. So it's really nice, but there's a lot that you can do with time limits just built in. You don't even have to buy an extra like app or anything.
That is fantastic. So there's hope for the future.
There's absolutely hope. Technology is amazing.
Well, 2 of my kids are very involved in it out of my 4 kids. So they seem pretty together. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome.
But Sarah, it has been an absolute joy having you on the Family Balancing Act today. I've learned a lot. I went into this knowing I knew very little other than my own experiences.
Sure.
But I learned so much. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful.
It's absolutely wonderful having you here. And so where are you? You were all over the place. So let's let my listeners know where they can find you.
Obviously, you mentioned my podcast is Family Tech Talk. That's available on all podcasting platforms. And then you can really find me on any social platform just by searching Family Tech. I have Family Tech handle on everything. So if you find Family Tech, that's me. And then my website, you can either go to SarahKimmel.com or you can go to familytech.biz.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you again. And thank you so much to the Family Balancing Act listeners. So take a deep breath and know that you're not alone here on the Family Balancing Act. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, this will be adjusted.
But you're totally good.